Which you're going to carry home in your Porsche, I'm sure. Live.
So that is
live.
It's pronounced Porsche.
Hello.
Okay, Peter.
You know what I learned today
Relax.
on Howard Stern? That Peter Frampton played a bunch of guitar on George Harrison's famous solo album that he right after he
With like
All
My
Things
Guitar
Must Pass?
Gently Weeps and
no,
stuff?
that's a Beatles song.
All Things Must Pass.
All Things Must Pass. Frampton played a ton of guitar on that. Had no idea. He's not even listed on it, but he played.
Did you know Alan Parsons produced Dark Side of the Moon?
Wow, and I didn't know that.
It's true. Which celebrated its 30th anniversary this week.
Would you say that's your favorite album of all time?
It's damn good.
I'm going to
Actually,
call it the Alan Parsons Project.
Dude, Alan Parsons
Good.
Project rules, man. I love that shit.
You know that song,
love it.
Alan Parsons Project, the one that was played before each Bulls
Yeah.
game,
Yeah,
right?
it's called Sirius is the name of the song, yes.
I had a neighbor named Uncle Larry in Canyon City, and he was a meth dealer.
Hello.
And he would play it really loud, and I would hear it every single night. That song blasting.
Yeah.
And then he'd be yelling,
Fired up to deal meth.
and then and then he would greet his girlfriend like, "Come on, bitch, we gotta go!" You know,
Dude, when they used before the Bulls
Uncle
games,
Larry.
he used to be like, "Yes,
I know.
bring it on,
I used
Michael Jordan."
I used to use it to get fired up to beat my kids. It worked like a charm.
so that's what he was, Uncle Larry.
All right, so that's good to go.
Now they're both bigger than me.
All right, that was harmful.
I'm ready. You let me know, and I'm going to push record on
Are you
this.
serious? All right, I'm ready.
Sirius, that was the name of that song.
Oh, it is. But
It's a different
Different
spelling,
Sirius?
but
I'm
still.
ready. Are you guys all ready
like
out there?
stars.
Whole squad ready?
Okay.
Whole squad
Y'all
ready.
ready? Whole squad ready?
Whole squad ready. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is you ready?
Let's go.
Live from the Sportique Studios, where there's never an off season for talking Kavnar. Those soulful eyes, warm, welcoming smile, and soft skin. This is the South Stand's Denver Fancast. I'm Colin Daniels with producer Scott Stafford, baller, shot caller, and the host of the Purple Dinosaur podcast, Tyler Moss, and your host, John. God damn right! Woo! We're talking sports! Yeah!
Hell yeah! Welcome to the show, everybody.
The loudest intro. The loudest.
Really good. I had to tweet out the link to this.
Oh, and I've got to retweet it now.
And you got to retweet it now. But I was trying to include our guest in there, and I almost put on Tyler Q. Tyler Q in Utah.
The other Tyler.
The other Tyler. The other
As
white
we
meat.
call him.
The other white meat, I call him. But I got the right one. So welcome to the show, everybody. It's great to be back. It was only 2 weeks, so we stuck with our plan. It's very good. So Tyler Mon is with us. Tyler, welcome back.
John, thank you, sir.
It's
thank you, sir.
it's good to have you. And I think you said it was maybe 2 years ago when you were here last.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And I think, and right when Colin was giving that intro, I remember now he called it the Purple Dino Cast.
Right.
And we
Right.
had Purple Dino, which is an Italian guy from the Bronx, who is a whole different. That's a whole different podcast. It's not what you do.
And I've been listening to it ever since.
But it's great to have you back. What's been going on? What's shaking?
You know, work nonstop, and
Yep.
it's pretty much all. But it's all good stuff. It's being about sports and doing sports stuff.
That's good.
I'd be doing that anyway, so I might as well do it for a job.
Tell us what you do, who you work for.
Several
Well,
things.
yes.
So my main gig, I work for MLB.com on the minor league side. I write for MILB.com. It's our site. So I write. I host our podcast for that one. I also work for the University of Denver. I do a bunch of broadcasting work for DU. I'm the radio voice for basketball and lacrosse over there. Started doing hockey on TV for DU this year, which has been awesome, doing the altitude stuff. I also do some other random broadcasting stuff. I do like international baseball broadcasting and host this weird Rockies podcast that for some reason has turned into this bizarre cult hit. So it's good.
So is play-by-play the end game? I mean, is that what a guy who's doing all the stuff you're doing have in mind?
Yeah, I think that's kind of always been my love. I really, really love the other stuff. I love writing. I love doing the podcast stuff, but play-by-play is just always, since I was, 5 years. When I realized that I had this physique and I would not be an athlete one day, I figured, well, I got to do something else in sports. And so, my dad has a tape recorder of me at like 6 years old calling games on the old Tecmo Super Bowl from my original Nintendo. So it's just like what I've always wanted to do. So yeah, I think ultimately that's still a goal.
I find it funny that your first stop in play-by-play is hockey, because that's a really tough game to do play-by-play for. It moves really, really fast.
I was going to say, like, when I'm watching a hockey game and listening to, like, Mark Mosier or somebody like that do it, and now you obviously have to know the players. You have to kind of know. But when you get, like, another college and you got to study up on those guys and know this is the guy who's the left wing on the first. Like, you got to know the lines. You got to know the lines of all these small colleges.
Yeah, which I've tried to simplify things as much as possible for myself. When I started doing lacrosse, I knew nothing about lacrosse. And I still know just like a passable about lacrosse, even though I've done it for like 6 years now. But when I started doing that, it's similar in that there are lines and there are groupings and
weird names.
Right, and weird names and all that kind of stuff. And I started doing my spotting boards for the broadcast were all broken out by lines. And I realized, like, 5 minutes into any game, all that stuff gets thrown out the window.
It's totally jumbled.
So especially that way with hockey. Like in lacrosse, generally you'll keep a certain unit together. And hockey, if things aren't going well, like head coach will change lines within the first 90 seconds of a game. And so this year I decided for the hockey broadcast that I was just going to go to like a numeric alignment for all the information that I have. I feel like that's worked out better for me because you're already drinking out of a fire hose trying to do so many other things with a telecast. There's so much going on. So this year I just tried to simplify it in that regard, and I think it's worked out okay. The nice thing about doing it on, doing those games for altitude is I'm doing it to a DU-centric audience. So I don't have to know quite as much about whoever's coming in, since it's more a product that's focused on just providing the Denver perspective on it. So that kind of helps. But yeah, it's hockey has been a lot of fun. It's been a big challenge, but it's been a ton of fun this year.
I would think that's a tough one. Whereas baseball, it's like, okay, there's a guy getting into the batter's box. He's going to stand there for 10 minutes hacking away at the ball. And then everybody that's out there. So you kind of, the change is a little slower.
Well, and that's why in baseball, the color guy is so important, because that's what makes the listening experience palatable. And I love listening to Jack and Jerry on the radio. Baseball is a great radio game. It's far less frenetic, but that fits your mood on a summer afternoon.
It is a good radio game. And I've got a buddy who's not really into sports at all. And he told me a long time ago, he's an artist, so he's like out drawing. He was like, I just like listening to the games and just putting them on and just kind of, in the background.
Well, you can picture what's happening too. Like when the ball's hit to third base, you can picture it.
Yeah, whereas hockey gets real like manic, and it's like, So, but no, it's great. That's very tough to do. I can't imagine.
How do you feel Connor McGahey is doing in his new role with Altitude?
I think he's been great. I've only gotten a chance to listen to a handful of games. Connor's actually one of my very first job out of college. I think Connor was still in school at DU. and I was working for a radio station in town. And Connor was doing the PA stuff, and I would cover some DU events. And Connor and I met over there, and just such a nice dude. And obviously, you know, kind of running in similar circles. I moved out of state for a little while and worked broadcasting jobs elsewhere, but coming back and keeping up with where Connor was and what he was doing. And I've only gotten to listen to a handful of games, but I think he's been doing great.
I've heard a couple of calls on the radio with him that I've really liked. One is the kind of iconic now I am Groob call. Yeah. That's a great one. But earlier in the season, he did something like it was Magruder, and he was like, "You're going to be working a desk job, Magruder," or something like that.
Bobrovsky from the
Bobrovsky. That's right. That's right.
From the Blue Jackets.
Yeah,
so you're off. He's good. He's got a really good voice. Why are they? And maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But like they seemed, and the Avalanche have done this. They were switching off. Like he's doing TV and Mosier was doing radio. They were switching off. Mosier obviously started with radio, but they're switching up a little bit. It's fine. All those guys are really good, but they're doing it with the Nuggets. They're taking Scott Hastings and putting him on the radio, and they're bringing like old players in. And people are I'm very finicky about announcers. And as you probably know this, like it's like, people like they either think you're great or they hate your guts for whatever reason, like how you pronounce a word. And it just seems like there's not a continuity going on with a lot of these things. And I don't know if is that a normal thing that they shake it up that much?
Not usually, I don't think. And I'm not entirely sure the reason behind it. I know, even this
I got a pretty solid guess.
Yeah.
I've got a guess too, but
yeah. I know even this year for DU basketball, they brought in rotating colored people throughout the season. It was, Scott Hastings was there for a game. Bill Hanslick was there for a game. Greg Lackey is there for most games. But they rotated a bunch of different people through. And I'm not sure if it's just kind of trying to find a formula that you feel like, if a product maybe, and I don't know this to be the case, but if you feel like maybe something is stale, if you try a different combination and feel like that works better, then maybe that's the impetus behind it. But yeah, it is kind of interesting that they've tweaked.
I think it's can we afford to live without some of these big salaries? Which was what it really comes down to.
Which is always an issue.
They did that growing up in baseball. I remember specifically with the Cubs. Harry Carey, they get him off of television by like the 8th inning. They put him on radio. But he was also drunk.
He was too drunk. Yeah, he was real drunk.
But he really was.
Yeah. Maybe you should put him on TV, then he doesn't have to describe everything.
But they would take this whole crew, though. They would replace the whole crew. The radio crew would go to TV, and TV would go to the radio.
Okay. Did you see where they're taking the Cubs away from WGN?
Yeah, I saw that.
They started their own network. Yeah. That's a shame. 70 years they were on WGN.
Progression. I would think that's a normal progression to do. Most things are going towards that.
Speaking of broadcasts, just briefly, I was very upset on Sunday. I was so mad at Zombie Root Sports because we were snowed in. The whole city was snowed in. It was cold and icy and dumping snow, and nobody wanted to leave the house. What better opportunity to have a 110 broadcast of the Rockies and Giants game? Oh, but no! The station whose only job is to deliver the Rockies games was playing women's college basketball. And the Monday Mommy, I tweeted something about it, and the Monday Mommy responded, "This is playoff basketball. You really think a preseason game is more important?" I was like, yeah, it's AT&T Sportsnet. Their job is to broadcast the Colorado Rockies. That's the only reason they exist.
Yeah, but
it made me so mad.
It's spring training, and that's the whole thing is you have to go there to experience it, right? They want you to go down there and go to the
$85 a day for a rental car.
Exactly, and spend the money there. And I'm kind of the mind where I don't want to see it. I get the updates. I see what people are saying. People are following it. I don't want to see any until it's time. It's
because
almost like
you
Christmas.
have 162 to go.
That's right. I don't need one now. Now maybe Tyler, you might think of it differently. Maybe you need baseball in your life all the time. But do you see? Like it's kind of like, hey, we can live without seeing a couple of these, games where no one's really trying hard.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos that I'm always fine to sit down and watch baseball. But I do get it, especially on a time in the sports calendar where so many other sports are approaching their postseasons. I think that is one of the reasons why at least other networks go away from televising some of the spring training stuff. But I think to your point, Colin, the fact that there are not a lot of play-by-play properties on that network, and you have a local team that's playing games. And granted, you're not going to ask your production staff and your broadcast team to do every spring training game, but it does seem like there are certain places where strategically you would think, yeah,
Sunday afternoon, snowy
game.
Sunday afternoon,
Seems like it would probably
against
be
the
good.
Giants, a division rival. I think they would have gotten some eyeballs, probably
Yeah,
more
probably.
eyeballs than they got.
But do they
Broadcasting
broadcast
college basketball.
any of them?
Yes,
Yeah, I
they
think
did.
they've got
Absolutely.
Okay.
10 this year, maybe
Oh,
something like that. It might not be that many, but
I was
yeah.
gonna say because like hockey, they do the preseason. You know, obviously Broncos are on. I don't know. I mean, I see your point, but you know, I think you can. I think you'll live. I think you'll live without some preseason baseball.
Do you guys know, as of right now, there are 2, and there could be more, but 2 games where the Rockies have day games at home and the Nuggets play at night. Entering into the playoffs. I know. This is going to be fun.
Oh, that is going to be fun.
Opening day.
Yeah.
And then I think the following one.
As a season ticket holder for both,
Yes.
you're booked.
I'm double dipping.
Double dipping.
Double
Boy,
dipping.
that's gonna be fun.
It is going to be fun.
That's
This
great.
town's
It's
You're
gonna
going to have to be
rocking.
careful. See, I don't know if I could pull that off because by the time I left Coors Field, I wouldn't be able to stay awake.
Yeah, you'd just be passed out in the seat.
That's right.
Well, it
It's a
also
short train ride.
also you remember opening day last season? It was,
Oh, God, it
miserable.
sucked.
That was miserable.
That was when we met Mosier
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, we did. We met Mosier.
Can't even recognize Mosier.
It's
like a
you know what, we got
missile.
lucky. I think like the 5 years prior to that were beautiful days.
Yeah.
They were really good, and so we had to take that one on the chin. And hopefully this year will be. I got to get Chris Bianchi doing some far out weather forecasting for me to figure out if it's going to be nice or not. But I hope it is. So
Probably going to be there either way. So
I'll
just
be
got to
there.
know how to dress.
Yeah, that's right.
If we made it when it was 26 degrees at
that
first
was
pitch, was it that
miserable.
cold? I think we'll make it this year.
Yeah, that was miserable. That was real bad. But I've been there when it's been really cold and wet too. I think this was just cold. It wasn't wet. That's when it's cold and wet. That's a really bad
Yeah, that's the
combo.
worst combo.
It's not good. It's not good.
And these last couple of months, that February was the coldest in 8 years.
And the longest
And-
in eight years.
It was miserable. And March so far has just been crappy. And I looked at a 10-day forecast today, and it's not supposed to be over 51 degrees for the next 10 days. So I'm ready for Shinter to be the fuck over with. And I know you feel the same way.
Shinter needs to get the hell
It's
out.
the shintiest of shinters.
It's the shintiest of shinters. That's shitty winter for everyone who doesn't know.
It sounds like something from Game of
It
Thrones.
does.
Shitty winter is upon us.
Well, my house is Shinterfell when it won't leave. I'm stuck in Shinterfell. I'm trying to survive.
How's your painting project going? Your home improvements?
Oh, I know Zach Sheely wanted to know some tips.
Try the frog tape, by the way.
Well,
I don't know if you've tried the
so
frog tape.
I'm an expert masker. I don't know if you guys know that about me.
I can imagine
yeah,
you would be based on your field of
I
work.
can mask the hell
Yeah.
out of things. So I got this tape, and it's like kind of almost like a vinyl-y type, not quite duct tape, and it was for painting. So hold that paint so it doesn't bleed through. Well, I masked this whole area. I got beams kind of like this, and I masked all this stuff because I was just doing it slowly but surely, and so I could dive into it. So 2 weeks later or whatever, it's all like peeling off and coming off, and I'm like all that work, and it's just really got me steamed. So, but yeah, we can get into that in a little bit. We got to take our first break. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I know,
Man, when the first quarter goes that quickly, it's going to be a good show.
We got plenty to talk about. We got lots of things coming up. We might have an interview or something, maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
yeah, that
We'll
goes.
see.
But let's take a quick break. We'll sort it all out right after this.
Cold and wet.
Here's a message I began to how many times do I have to tell you that I'm cold and wet?
Play a song for your cold and wet.
Good. I don't let it get it down. I don't let it get me down anymore. I try to rise above the cold.
I'm fucking sick of it, dude.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yes.
It's been we've got like usually to like hit us, warm up, hit a skin, warm up. That's
It's just been cold. And it's crazy because we had multiple 70-degree days in November.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it just abandoned us.
Yes, it's
Yeah, no, it's been
Super
super shitty.
bad guys.
Like, it's really, like, has bothered me greatly. I'm done.
I always bring this up. Do you remember there was like, I don't know who was around then, but like in the mid 90s, there was a spring where it just rained and was cloudy for what seemed like 3 months. And everyone started going bonkers. Like everyone was just kind of acting really weird. And it just never left until like it was like, you know, like it was June and all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's summertime now. And it was like a weird thing. It was like a madness settled in over everyone. And it was like the craziest thing.
It is pretty amazing here. Like when you get a week or 2 weeks of bad weather in a row, especially if it's gray, how it just throws everybody in a tailspin.
Absolutely. Well, it's daylight savings switches back this Sunday. So
yeah, that's right.
That's going to provide a boost, I think.
Spring ahead.
All right, we got that saved. Okay, cool. Yeah, see, this is the bonus content that all the lucky viewers out there are getting. So
I used to be able to tell how many people were watching. It doesn't say it anymore.
YouTube hiding the metrics.
I mean, there's usually a couple, and then people watch it later, but
I have picked out no music for today, so I'm just trying to add things.
I was gonna say, in honor of Trump, I'm gonna call you Scott Music. You're Tyler Baseball, and he's Colin Nuggets. That's just how I know your name's not Colin Nuggets.
Well, at least you get the first name.
Tim Apple.
Tim Apple. No, but then somebody said he called. Oh God, what was it? It was the woman was a CEO.
Oh, he called Tim Cook Tim Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know
I
this?
haven't seen
Today.
it.
Oh, yeah.
I've been too busy.
You know, Tim Apple.
I don't know
Tim
what's
Apple.
happening anymore. Tim Apple makes sense though.
What was it? It was like I can't think of the name of the company. It was like semi-familiar. I have to look it up.
Well, you know, John, his brain just moves too fast.
Too fast,
He's too smart.
Cab Bronco.
Bronco.
Cab Bronco, he loves Tim Apple. Big fan.
Oh, yeah. He's a fan of the other Apple guy, though. Steve Apple. He's the big fan of that. All right. I got to figure out something to listen to. Gotta get rid of this song. Oh, boy. I don't know if I should play this song or not. Yeah.
Then do.
I don't think you guys are going to like it.
There's did you see my Marked Out erotic fan fiction earlier?
Yeah, that was awesome. He got fired, by the way.
From what?
Orange and Blue 760.
Really?
Like just
For what?
just
What
can.
Laid off. Yeah, to make room for Big Al's fucking contract.
They're like we gotta back a dump truck up for Big L's
Yeah,
money.
they fired Andy Lindahl, Mark Stout, and one other guy.
Lindahl too?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and
Well,
just
But let's say like
That-
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah,
thing.
don't forget about
God
that.
damn. I think I know who D-Mac's next host is going to be. We'll talk about that.
Is it you? Tell me it's
No,
you.
no, it's not.
Oh my God, that'd be
Heavens,
great.
no. Heavens, no.
I can't do that.
I wouldn't mind the money. These guys make more money than I thought they did.
Oh, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
For you to get on, you'd have to pay them. You'd have to be like, I'm going to pay you
I'll give
$100.
you, yeah, I'll give you $100 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Hashtag my high school. Okay, so I got to do a read and then questions. You realize that.
It's the question.
It's the questions, yeah. So you've got that right.
I got that.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
I'm ready if you are.
I think I'm going to do BSN as Szymanski this time. Might be some copyright infringement. It's okay.
All right, I'm ready. You guys ready?
Hello, Colorado. This is David Szymanski for BSNDenver.com. I'm telling you, I love Denver sports. I'm Szymanski. And I get all the best reporting from the people at BSNDenver.com. You got to check it out. Be sure to tell you David Szymanski sent you.
Hold on a second. Spano's on the phone. He's telling you to cease and desist.
Did HBO intentionally release the documentary Leaving Neverland to correspond with the end of the NFL Combine? Is Tyler Murphy really 4 feet tall? Now that the combine is over, will 104.3 The Fan focus more on the other three major sports? The Broncos draft, Broncos training camp, and Broncos preseason. Will Cecil Lammey have some spare time to skillfully paint his Julius Thomas figurines? Was the avalanche on I-70 only the second worst disaster of the same name on camera this week? Did Detroit fans attend the game at Pepsi Center yesterday with the proceeds from the sales of their homes? Were Robert Kraft's visits to the spa the first Patriot events to end in a tie? That's good stuff. Does Nolan Arenado finally have enough money to buy stadium naming rights? Is Isaiah Thomas the perfect fit for the Nuggets since he fits in the overhead bin? Is the new Green Deal a proposed environmental policy or the weekly special at Live Well? Is Alfred Williams relieved to finally be moving to a radio station where he can talk about the Broncos? As a married man in his 50s, is D-Mac enjoying the opportunity to experiment with different partners? Is Jake Shapiro the only member of Rockies media who literally looks up to Vic Lombardi? You have questions. We have answers. SouthStandsDenver.com, Colorado's finest internet sports talk since 1971. Chevron.
I saw that you watched the documentary.
Oh, so good. Oh, God, so creepy. So much anus.
So, I didn't watch it, but after you've watched it,
God, you want to take a Silkwood shower?
like really? Like you're like, this is gross beyond.
It's really gross. Yeah, really fucking creepy and weird. Yeah. And my brother's all mad because he's a huge Michael Jackson fan. He's like, it's lies. It's lies. Well, they're just trying to get his money.
Well, that's the thing. It's
like, if you think they could fabricate this shit, oh my God.
That's the thing. The family, the brothers were like, oh no, these are lies, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, this is all lies. And they're like, well, have you seen it? And they're like, no, I don't need to. And it's like,
they're probably still living off his money too.
Right? I'm sure they are.
There is no way two young men could stand there and sit there in front of these cameras and fabricate that story. There's just no way.
Well, at this point,
and the things both of them are saying are almost identical. Now, sure, they could have gotten on the same page somehow, but the idea that they falsified these stories is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Well, they can't get anything out of a dead man. I know he's got an estate and everything, but
they did try suing him while he was still alive. Each of them did, and each of them did unsuccessfully. But believe me, I would try to sue them too if the things they say happened actually happened.
Well, I come back to the whole thing of like, there's a whole segment of people out there who are like, this is all lies. And other people are like, well, no, and it's kind of like, how do you, I get people love him as a musician.
There's no collusion, John.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like we all have like these brain worms and people are just like, they just can't see what's in front of them. And this is in that situation and many others.
If we are to listen to the victims, it all makes perfect sense. Everything they say makes perfect sense. He was a lonely man-child who was a celebrity from a very young age, never had the opportunity to experience a normal...
And abused. His father beat the shit out of him.
Absolutely. So I think there are outs for Michael, but the things he did to little boys, according to that documentary, are positively shocking.
All right, let's talk some baseball.
Yeah!
Pitchers and catchers.
Let's do it.
I did want to.
Sometimes they report. That's all I'm saying.
I did want to bring up the great news of Nolan getting signed.
Oh my God!
I haven't been able to talk about it yet.
Okay, now I have one question.
Is the tattoo right now happening?
So hold on. Tyler doesn't know about it.
The tattoo is designed.
Hold on. So Tyler is up to speed. Anyone else doesn't know? Colin said that if they sign Nolan long term, he was going to get a tattoo of something about Nolan.
Let's back this up a little bit. He changed it to long term later.
Hold on. Now,
he changed that.
Verbiage. No, because he said it wasn't like they were going to give him like a year.
They had to make the playoffs, and they had to sign him to a new deal.
And this all happened. Now this all happened.
Yes.
But now here's what he said, and Tyler, you know about this more than we would. Then he was like, I got to look into this opt-out clause because if this opt-out clause is, I might not get the tattoo. And I was like, bullshit.
I said 4 years or more, and the opt-out clause is at 3 years. So I ask you, Tyler, what's the significance of that clause? And is he going to be here? And I'm getting the tattoo either way. I'm not going to use that as
well. That kind of that's anticlimactic.
But I wonder.
Yeah. You wonder if he's going to be here?
Yeah.
I think he will be. I'll give you two reasons why. One, what they have built and what they continue to build is sustainable, and is sustainable, I think, beyond just this window of contention that's right now for probably 2021 or 22. I think with continuing to draft intelligently and develop players, organizations like the Houston Astros are showing right now, you can build it and keep it going rather than just build it, tear it down, build it, tear it down.
You mean win from now on?
Win, for the most part from now on. But I think the thing that really works in that contract's favor is organizations aren't really handing out huge deals to guys that are over 30 anymore. And Nolan's going to be
31.
By that point, 30 going on 31. Yeah. So if you're looking at a circumstance where
I believe there'd be $600 million left on the deal after that or something.
You're not going to get $32 million a year going beyond what you've already been offered at that age. So I think there's a very heavy likelihood that he doesn't exercise the opt-out. I think he'll stick around.
Man, I hope so. That's a Rocky for life deal, and that justifies the
If in 2 years from now they were just awful and for some reason they just fell off the map and they were really bad, then yeah, he might say I'm gonna get out of here. But you're saying you think that what their direction they're going in 3 years, they're probably still going to be decent and content.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think if that is the case, if it did fall apart and he decided to opt out, that's good for both sides because on Nolan's side, then he gets to potentially go somewhere where he's going to be able to compete and try to win a World Series. On the Rocky side, they're not hamstrung with a Troy Tulowitzki contract or a Carlos Gonzalez contract where you're paying a guy $30+ million on a team that isn't contending. Yeah. So I think that actually would work in favor on both sides if it came to that. I just don't see it coming to that.
So he said he was going to get it on the small of his back.
Okay.
I did not say that.
That was part of it. I was like, well, if that's
you said that.
So you are going to get the tattoo
on my right calf, I believe. Is what I've decided.
And are you going to get the famous him bloody?
Yeah, what I decided is the spring training logo with the C in the middle in the foreground, and then kind of Nolan kind of behind it, like he's behind the mountain with the bloody face and the screaming yell. And I've looked at it. I've Googled image search. I looked at 100 different images, and I kept coming back to that one for one primary reason. I was at that game. I embraced my daughter when he hit the home run for the cycle to end the game that resulted in the bloody face. I mean, it's as far as the moments that I've witnessed in person at a Denver sporting event, at the actual event, probably number one on my list. And I've seen some cool stuff, but I haven't been to a Super Bowl and I haven't been to a title game for the NBA. And I wasn't at any of the Avalanche championship games. So for me, that Father's Day game was something truly, truly special that, justifies a tattoo. Because it was Father's Day. It was a memory.
He's at least here for 3 years, probably more. He's now an iconic player for the Rockies. I think you should go ahead and do it.
I think that we've got a great set of between McKinnon and Jokic and Nolan Arenado and Von Miller. We've got a really exciting group in Colorado right now, and I think it's a time to hold our heads high. It's just a shame the Broncos won't suck on purpose because that's what they need to do.
That's what they need to do. When are you going to get the tattoo? Let's talk about that.
I spoke to a fellow. We're right next door to
Think
Tank Tattoo, and I talked to a fellow the other day who happens to be a big Boston sports fan.
Gross.
He's got Patriots tattoos and stuff. But on the other hand, of all the people that are there, the goth types and the biker types and everything else, he's totally a sports dude. So I talked to him, and he said the first thing we need to do is do the drawing. So I'm gonna have my kid Photoshop the drawing. And then
it's going to end up being Bob Kraft with a bloody head going, that's what it's going to end up being. You won't be able to see it because it's on your calf.
They're saying he's going to get off.
Good one. That's awesome. So bring you back to those Rockies. It's great that they did that. I think they needed to do that.
It was huge. My skin tingled.
Oh, it was a great day.
I first learned about it with the Fan 104.3, the Fan app. I got a notification from them.
Wow.
And normally I would have
a day later.
Normally I would.
What's going on,
Normally I would have caught it on Twitter, but I saw that and I was working and my coworkers were around and I just stood there frozen, absolutely paralyzed, and goosebumps formed on both arms. I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
How much was that a done deal? I mean, was it pretty much going to happen? Was it that was going to be the thing?
I started hearing toward the late stages of the fall that they were making progress on it. And Ken Rosenthal had a really good story today on The Athletic about how it was really a meeting in late January that kind of pushed it over the top. But, this is something that we've said on the podcast for a few years now. The Rockies throughout franchise history have always ponied up to sign franchise luminaries. They did it with Larry Walker. They did it with Todd Helton. They did it with Troy Tulowitzki. They did it with Carlos Gonzalez. They, from what I've heard, had a deal put together to sign Matt Holliday long-term. He kind of backed out and figured that he might have a better shot going elsewhere, so they traded him. They ended up getting Carlos Gonzalez back for him, so they executed a decent deal there, which is a rare moment where I'll give Dan O'Dowd some credit. But they, throughout history, they've always done that. And we talked about that a lot on the podcast. The Montforts have this reputation of, they're cheap, they won't sign anybody. They sign everybody when it comes to players of this magnitude. And I think the other thing that worked in their favor is the way this free agency market is going in Major League Baseball. And if I'm Nolan Arenado and I'm looking at Manny Machado and I'm looking at Bryce Harper, I don't want to deal with that. I mean, even if it's a circumstance where you're going to get more money, the stress of being Bryce Harper and waiting until last week to sign a deal with a team and show up to spring training and all that. Bryce Harper got dragged by the Philly media for 6 months before signing a contract to get started in Philly. Like that relationship is already trashed from Jump Street. So if I'm Nolan, like why would I look at that and say, yeah, I want that for an extra $1 million a year?
And you're talking about money that will service 5 generations of your family.
And that's the thing about Nolan.
You wouldn't notice $1 million missing. That's how much money it is.
And I've never gotten the impression from Nolan or from people around the organization that he is somebody who cares that much about being, the guy who gets the biggest contract in baseball history, something like that. I think he obviously cares about getting what he thinks is fair, but I don't think he's somebody who's motivated by, I have to go out and get massive money. I think he knew he was going to get massive money, but showing some loyalty to an organization that drafts and develops you, brings you along. You took the 2 straight playoff appearances for the first time in franchise history. I think it's very cool, and it's almost kind of a throwback sports moment where you don't really see that a lot. I mean, you kind of would have figured 3-4 years ago, maybe Bryce Harper was going to go that route. The Nationals have spent a ton of money. They tried to put in a bunch of pieces around him to win. Theoretically, they would have had the money to do that with him, and that conversation never really happened. I mean, toward the middle of last season, the Nationals were like, we're not going to get this done on an extension. And so for Nolan to be of that mindset and to do that, I think is really cool. And I talked about this with Nate Kreckman on his show the day that Nolan signed the extension. As a Colorado sports fan, especially as a Rockies fan, it's rare that you get those moments where you feel like you won over the Red Sox or the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Cubs or whoever. With that garbage report that came out of the New York Post in January, the Yankees are really eyeing Nolan Arenado. If you can say
it terrified me,
right? And I think everybody around here freaked out. But you can say, if you cover the Yankees, that the Yankees are eyeing literally any player in baseball, and it wouldn't be incorrect because they have the purse strings to do it. But that report was such nonsense because it was, he has to go to free agency. It has to be the right fit, franchise-wise and salary-wise. The Yankees have to decide what they're doing. They've already got Miguel Andujar at third base, who had a decent debut. Like, there were all these things where it was just
caveats.
Right, exactly. Where it's like, I'm sure a lot of organizations are probably thinking that exact same way about Nolan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned too, Tyler, on the last Purple Dinosaur podcast, what a distraction it would have been for the Rockies. And it was a distraction for the Nationals last year, and the Orioles traded Machado.
Right.
So it would have been a huge.
Well, look at the distraction that Carmelo Anthony was for the Nuggets. Look at the distraction that kind of Matt Duchene was for the Avalanche, and then for the Ottawa Senators this year. So it's like having that. It's impressive. So I'm wondering, is it? It sounds like Nolan's pretty high character guy. It's that, and the Rockies probably had something to do with it too. They gave him enough they gave him enough that he thought, this is where I want to be. This is actually going to work. I want to actually make this happen.
And I think the difference between, for example, Nolan's deal versus Matt Holliday in 2008, I think Nolan, if I'm Jeff Bridich and Dick Monfort, I go to Nolan and I say, look at the guys that we have under team control for the next 3-4 years. Kyle Freeland, Herman Marquez, John Gray, Tyler Anderson, Trevor Story, all these dudes you've been building around are all going to be here. So it's not as though, I think if it was Matt Holliday's situation in 2008, he looks at that team from 2007 and thinks, yeah, that was a good team. That team caught lightning in a bottle. That probably wasn't a World Series team, and they got lucky at the end by going on that run. I don't think you looked at what they had built then and thought that's a sustainable core that can carry you for a few years. But the Rockies have lightning in a bottle right now in a larger sense, in that they have all these guys who all graduated at the same time, who've all made it to the major leagues, who all have 3 or 4 more years of team control. And that's massive right now in baseball. And so I think that's the package that they probably brought to Nolan and said, hey, you can stick around here. And even if it's only for this first window of contention, even if it's only for the next 3 years, this is all going to be here for you. And the odds that these guys all take a step back and this falls apart are pretty low. So this is something that you can work with. It's obvious that we want to build around you. That's a pretty attractive package if I'm a free agent, if I'm a guy looking for an extension.
Let's get into some more Rockies a little bit later, but we got to get into the second half already. We're cooking along.
I'm not even
barely covering anything. We're having a great time. We're getting a lot of good stuff, but we got to take that quick break, get into some sports, and we'll talk some more Rockies. I got more questions. I'm sure you do too.
A million.
All right. Let's take a quick break. Be right back. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to take a whiz so I can. I know during the middle of the next part, I'm going to have to take a piss. Just letting you know. I'm going to go take a piss.
Katie Wingy followed me on Twitter.
Yeah, you're going to blow that, dude.
No chance, man.
You're going to blow that.
Me and Katie Wingy, we're fucking tight now. We're buds. She's awesome, dude. She's so fucking good.
Oh, she's great.
Dude, she did color for a DU Hoops game as well. She's great. She did color.
Yeah, I heard her on the Nuggets radio too.
She's great.
Yeah, she's really good.
Who are we talking about?
Katie Wingy.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she replaced Allie Sturm, and Allie Sturm was awful. And I wrote a column on our site about Allie Sturm, and the headline was "Altitude's new giggle girl is a real airball." And in the article, I said she should be doing a bikini car wash, not interviewing Nikola Jokic. And about a year and a half ago, my phone rang. It's a Denver number. I didn't recognize it. And I answered, and she said, "Colin, this is Allie Sturm."
Oh, man.
I got your number from Jeffrey Morton. And listen, my contract at Altitude is up. And I'm submitting resumes. And the first thing that comes up when you Google my name is that article. And I said, oh, my God, that's horrible. And I took it down. I took the article down from the website. And it was reproduced at BSN Denver because I was writing for Brandon at the time.
Okay.
And I had him take it down. And it still came up in Google searches. So I had to pull a bunch more strings. And I had Brandon Spano's web guy help me. And we got it fixed. I called her up. I was like, all right, Allie, it's fixed. And now she's in Phoenix. She's got a job in Phoenix. But that was weird. That was the first time that had happened. No, I know. This isn't a story I don't want to share with the 8 people that are watching on there.
Well, there's that.
No, I wish Allie all the best. She just was fucking horrible. at that job at that time. And she admitted as much when she called me. She said, nothing you said wasn't true. Take that fucking thing down. She couldn't pronounce the players' names. And the most obnoxious thing she did was this one. Tell me about that play and that thing that you did.
Oh my God!
She started nodding. She would start nodding before they started speaking.
Wow!
And she'd nod through the entire thing.
Well,
This poor girl.
I'm just like, oh my God.
Jesus.
No, I said I wish Allie the best. I think she's getting better. I honestly do. I also in the South Stands Media Awards 2016, I named her most improved. Because I felt bad.
Man,
that's like the worst award. Ay. That's what I gotta say.
that's the whole thing. I always remember like my dad hating announcers.
Yeah.
Like always just like, oh, like what's the guy's name? Was his name Bob Trumpy? Is that like a football announcer?
Yeah.
Something like that?
There's something like that.
And because my dad always watched college football and he was like, oh, that guy. Blah, blah. And now, remember this is on. So they hate the Rockies guys on TV.
Yeah.
My parents are in their 80s and they hate those guys so much. Like I just have to bring it up and they're just like, oh, those guys. Oh, they're so bitter. And I'm like, look, Mom, I go, everybody hates those guys. So you're not alone. But it's so funny that like you can just like have this like reaction to something, you know? And I get that. When I listen to I listen to podcasts, you know, like a fantasy baseball podcast. It's like the CBS one's really good. But like a couple of those guys, the way they pronounce words drives me fucking nuts. And it's just like maybe like a regional thing.
Yeah.
And it just like
grates on you.
Oh, it's so much. And I'm just like, why am I getting so mad about this? Yeah, there's a guy and he says, and he doesn't, okay, so like the word didn't or wouldn't, he does not say them like that. He says didn't and wouldn't. And oh my God. And this is a smart dude who like knows way more about baseball and analytics than I ever will. And I know he's intelligent, but it just makes him sound so dumb. And
It's just like my black cab driver in London I had. He would drive down the road and say, "It's a nice day outside, isn't it?"
Now that's English. That's an English accent though. That's different.
He said, "Isn't it?"
So maybe, and you know what? And that it might be. I think this dude's originally from the South. Doesn't have a Southern accent, but that could be it because
but it's a different form of an English accent. It's like it's definitely not your.
It's like the Cockney.
In it.
Yeah. In it. And I'm like,
right, mental in it.
Huh? What? So he was speaking English.
Right, mental in it.
He spoke English to us.
Yes.
For quite some time, and we were all like.
Oh, see, that's what like. Anytime we've gone over there, like my wife's like, I can't understand anyone. I'm like, I understand everyone perfectly. But now I can't hear very well. So I bet if I went over there, I'd just be like,
we had a scenario in Disney World where a woman from the South was speaking to us and talking to us in English, and my wife and I didn't understand her, and we looked at each other, and she repeated it. And we still looked at each other and said, "I'm sorry." And she just got frustrated and left. But she was speaking English.
You're like, we're well-to-do Yankees. We don't understand your low regional dialect.
What's this strange dialect?
It's low. It's low speech. That's what they call it. Low speech.
We still, to this day, we talk about it. We had no idea what she said.
You had no idea.
But we know she was speaking English. She was like pointing at stuff.
I'm willing to draw some conclusions about her complexion.
She was white.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd be like, she was like a Creole lady or something.
You should have said, "Speak American, bitch."
White lady.
Speak American, bitch.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that out of me. Get that evil out of me.
So
I have a tweet of the week, but I kind of don't think we'll end up needing it. But it's a good one.
Why am I having issues watching this game?
Yeah, because we're cranking the bandwidth with this live feed.
Keep saying your event is about to begin. Nuggets game started, didn't it?
At 8:30? Oh, it's TNT. You don't know.
Well, this says ESPN 3. Is it TNT or ESPN 3?
Oh, Sid Ziegler. Get back to you. That's perfect. Thank you for reaching out, period. Oh, thank fucking God.
What are we thinking for?
That the Toronto goalie is pitching a shutout
Nice.
right now because I need that.
You're in a tight game. How's my game looking?
Let's check it out. Let's see.
I was
So-
leading 7 cats to 4 this morning.
So thankfully, my opponent, because there's not a lot of games, it's like weird. It's like not a lot of games, and there's a full slate. There's not a lot of games. She did not play everyone tonight, which is awesome.
No, are you kidding me?
No, yeah, she didn't start her lineup. I was like, why would you
In the
pay
playoffs?
money and get to the playoffs and not set a fucking lineup? Doesn't make sense. You're losing 5-4 now.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's all right. That's close enough. You
Yeah.
can switch back.
Oh, yeah.
We start playoffs next weekend. Basketball.
Ooh, but
Good time.
number 2 seed's getting beat pretty good right now.
Ooh, can we change the draft to Thursday, the 21st, not Friday, the 22nd? You know, I keep missing the draft every single year.
And you keep winning. So what's your fucking problem?
This is why I'm telling you this. I will be destined to win again.
So why do you need me to change it?
It's always like falls on my wife's birthday for whatever reason. But her birthday is the 23rd, and we're going out for the weekend.
See, this is earlier because the season starts funky. It's already going to be started by the time we.
No, I'm talking about Thursday the 22nd. We can't go earlier.
No, you can go earlier. I'm just saying the season starts on like the 20th. Like that first games are played on the 20th because they're playing in
What?
Japan. Yeah,
Then why don't we draft earlier then?
because that's really fucking early.
All right.
But I can't draft any later because then I'm going out of town. So,
But you're right. I have auto drafted the first 2 seasons and have successfully won the league.
well, Poop Cal is going to be in Vegas, and he was complaining because he couldn't. He was going to have to auto draft too. So maybe
Well,
because
Thursday. I think it's.
I'm cool with Thursday. Everyone else is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So then I can actually draft, which would be nice.
Which
which should do my season if I'm actually drafting.
then you're going to lose because you're not going to.
And
Right.
you,
I got to
you
read. I got to
you
read
rigged
that
the,
sports.
I did not rig anything.
You rigged the league. So I can't win.
I did the Ryan Bolden treatment that he did to me and Colin in the hockey league.
totally rigged it against me.
I changed a few things around there, and I'm going to run it by our expert here. I'm going to see what he thinks about. I know you
Oh, I'm totally against it.
play some fantasy, so I'm going to have to
Totally against it.
run some stuff by you. Are you guys ready to get back onto it?
Yes.
Okay.
I got to do a read and then sports.
Oh, look, game started.
Yep.
Showtime, as they say. That is kind of showtime. Look at that. Look how exciting that is.
Lakers are pretty exciting.
Yeah.
They're playing the Lakers.
Yeah.
You know what I said? I said to
In
Snyder.
Los
I said
Angeles.
I said the Nuggets are going to make playoffs, and I said the Lakers might not. And he laughed at me. He's probably watching. He laughed at me. He's like, "Oh, poo poo." Lakers fucking suck. And if he would have made the right decision, they would have been coasting to a title.
They're a bit of a mess.
They would have been coasting to a title right now with LeBron.
All right. Read and then sports.
This was not a basketball decision. All right, doing sports. Oh, man, then I got to turn the Nuggets off.
I'm ready.
All right. Hold
Yeah,
on.
the show, Scott. That's what matters here. Not your Nuggets game.
All right, it's fine. Tip off.
Let me know when you're ready.
Go Jokic. Go Jokic. All right, hold on. Sports. Let me get some levels. Yeah. All right, you guys ready to rock this?
Yeah.
There you are. Okay, right.
I'm ready. You.
You already started doing the thing?
No, you're going. Remember?
Get into the game with Sportique. It's where scooters come from at 160 South Broadway, and a scooter from Sportique is the best way to get to Coors Field this summer for the big games. Park at a bike rack right outside, hop on, get in, and get out. Nothing could be easier. It's Sportique, where scooters come from, and when you visit, please tell them the South Stand sent you. Sports!
Sports! Who loves sports? I love sports. Sports! Here we go. Oh! Yeah!
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah!
Sports!
Woo! Sports! Oh! Love those sports! Woo!
Oh, God. Thank goodness for sports. Oh, God, I need them. I need them.
Sports. I can give or take sports. My thing is I really like fantasy sports, and
Yes, fantasy
honestly,
sports.
that's the only thing that keeps me interested in sports. Otherwise, I would have stopped paying attention a long time ago.
That's my problem with hockey, John. I'm not in a fantasy league.
You
I
gotta
gotta
get
get
in the
I know.
fantasy league. Oh yeah,
And then I'd be into it.
dude. I can tell you all about the top two lines of the Buffalo Sabres if you need to. So. Yeah, it keeps me interested in it, and we're talking baseball, and fantasy baseball is coming up, and I wanted
from Maine to San Diego.
I wanted to run by some things by our guest because he's a baseball expert. So Scott was complaining.
You throw the word expert around pretty.
It's a loose term.
Hey, I'm talking with the people sitting in this room.
Yeah, amongst us, without question. Yes.
Scott was complaining because he always auto drafts, but he's won the last 2 years because he gamed the system. Because Scott's a smart man. Scott's a smart man. I will give you that. And what he does is he figures out like how to mathematically game the system. So what he did is I had no
for 2 years in a row, and no one else has done it.
I had no limits on transactions.
Okay.
So Colin and I play in a fantasy hockey league with Ryan Bolden, and so in 1 year, Colin and I were at the end. You're like, okay, well this guy's not playing anymore. I'm just gonna go. So Colin was ad dropping like crazy, and I was doing it too near the end. So they put limits on it. They said you can only have a certain amount for the season. You can only do, and the same thing like pitchers. A lot of times you'll have to get a certain amount of innings in a week for your pitcher stats to take hold.
Yeah.
So I instituted that this year. I said, Scott, we're going to change this up. So you can only do so many transactions a week. Still plenty. I think there's probably 6-7 a week, which is fine. He's very bitter about it, but I think that's only fair because you could sit there and just
everyone can do that.
Yes, and you're right. You're right. It's there, but this is America,
but no one had the cojones to do it.
Well, it just depends on how much time you have.
No one said, "Hey, I'm going to drop half of my roster and pick up all the lefty righty matchups."
I understand. It's fine, Tyler. We want you to make a determination on this. We want you to make a ruling. You're the Judge Judy at this point.
You know, I have played fantasy baseball once in my life.
No way, really?
I never do it and it's for precisely that reason because I never understood pitchers only go once a week. What do you do the other 5 days that they're not throwing? I never got it. So I don't know, but I feel like it's in a fantasy league, you kind of have to regress to the least available member of your league. So I feel like in that sense, then you should have a limit on the moves, just because not everybody is always going to be out there making.
Thank you.
8 a week is too low though. At least 8 a day.
I don't.
8 a day. I was flipping my entire roster every single day. I was truly. I was dropping 12 guys a day,
and in pitching categories, you can really do well with that because you can get tons of strikeouts. You can get low ERA, all that stuff.
No. This is the hard part. You can accumulate big numbers, right? But averages out the window. because
Sure.
you're picking guys off of the floor, right, to go in there. So they're going to get a bunch of strikeouts, but they're also going to give up like 6 runs. Like that's going to happen.
Absolutely. But I had to do it to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to do it. It's just something, you know.
I think it should be modified a little bit more friendly.
What I did do is I modified it. So I just took out the strikeout and I did the K per 9. So that's what I switched. Now, I think that's a little bit better than just the straight strikeout, because here's the thing. In fantasy football, you have to play in a PPR league, right? If you don't play PPR, it's bullshit, because PPR will open up the player pool to a lot more people.
Right.
So we play in a quality start league, which is opens it up a little bit, and we do saves and holds.
Okay.
So it opens up the relief pitchers, because otherwise you've only got a certain amount of relief pitchers to go with. So
And in the playoffs, if you can spot those guys, those middle relievers who haven't pitched like in 3 or 4 games,
yep.
and just add those. Oh, I cleaned up right there.
you go. See,
I
it's
totally
This is the Billy
cleaned up.
Bean of fantasy.
he really is. He really
Very
is.
impressed with this.
So it opens up it. So saves, holds is kind of like the PPR of fantasy baseball. So I changed that up, and so I ran it by Ryan Edwards. I said, "Hey Ryan, what do you think of this?" And he was like,
He was sick of losing to me too. Right?
Yeah, totally." So I said, "This is going to keep Scott down." He's like, "Oh, whatever keeps Scott out of
the
the
reverse side of it
before."
before.
So anyway, I just thought
I do have to add, I had the worst team
you did. You had a
by
terrible
far.
team. Yeah.
I had a losing record going into the playoffs.
Yeah, you had an auto
So
draft team. Then he beat me. I had been in first the whole year, and then he beat me. So.
Anything can happen. Any given day.
That's right. And you get him Sunday through whatever Monday.
Yeah. Sunday,
so-
Thursday.
Speaking of anything can happen, I
Yeah.
want to touch very briefly on something. Last week, it was, I think it was a week ago today, actually. I caught wind that
Are you past wind usually?
I passed
I
wind.
think it's
And then after I passed wind, I got a very interesting phone call from a mole at 104.3 The Fan who told me, hey, listen, you have the ability to dust up, some talk, and we're going to lose Big Al. We're losing Big Al. So, maybe you could help us say something and see if maybe the station, people respond and the station has to listen. And it was weird. It was a weird thing. And so I did. I tossed up a little dust, published a piece at the website, and the hope was that they could. He had his contract was up, and they were hoping at the 11th hour that maybe the station would come through, pony up, and he was. I guess.
Oh, he's really beloved, and we need him. Yeah.
Exactly, and he was apparently very offended by the fact that the company didn't want to negotiate with him, and little inside baseball stuff. I guess he was kind of eyeing Schlereth's contract and felt like maybe I'm worth that much, even though I'm African American and you're Mormons.
Oh, wait a minute.
And that one they didn't feel the same way.
Left turn.
So long story short, he winds up at KOA, and I broke the story that morning. And I got to say, I'm really annoyed with both Westward and Denver Post because that afternoon evening, they both published the story. So did Mike Kliss. Big Al's leaving. He's going to KOA. And I'm like, guys, couldn't you just toss me a little bone?
No.
Especially Michael Roberts.
Westward usually
You would
does.
think he would.
Westward usually does for
Just
you.
throw me a little bone.
You didn't think Mike Kliss was going to do that. I mean, he won't even give Nicky Javala any fucking
Yeah,
credit.
don't confirm to Colin.
Yeah.
But that was annoying because I was really proud of that I had a source that wanted me to, to kick up a little dust about something, and I did, and then other local news sources were like, breaking.
Come on.
Big Al Radio's leaving.
You're acting hurt about this, and I know you're not because you knew this exactly was going to happen.
No, I just mostly want to needle those.
I understand, yeah, and they probably should have. At least Westward should have because they've done that before.
But it's nice to have a little niche, though. It's nice to have a little niche. I love Denver Sports Talk Radio. I love to talk about and write about Denver Sports Talk Radio, and it's nice to know that some people acknowledge that and say, hey, when it comes to reporting this kind of stuff, you're the guy.
Colin was telling me about this, and I was just kind of like, radio's fucking dead. It's over. And with apologies to our friends that we all like that are still on the radio,
I'll do it.
it is kind of going away, right? So I mean, you guys have a popular Rockies podcast. If people want to know what's going on with the Rockies, they can tune that in. BSN's got plenty of stuff. I don't listen to talk radio anymore.
Well,
I haven't in years.
And I agree with you when it comes to.
And I love Nate Kreckman. I think he's fantastic. I just
does a
don't
brilliant job.
tune in. I just don't tune in because that's not how I listen anymore.
When it comes to specific coverage of specific teams, especially those that are not the Broncos, I agree with you. People are better off getting that content there. I am a terrestrial radio listener, and I have been my entire life. I worked at a radio station when I was in high school, and I love it. Part of the reason that I do this podcast is because I have a love for radio, and I do enjoy tuning it in, and I did enjoy the drive, and I enjoyed the chemistry that Big Al and D-Mac have developed over a long period of time, nearly a decade on air together. And I will miss it. And I've got some ideas as to who may end up filling Big Al's shoes, but I don't think anybody ultimately can. And I think it was a big mistake for the station to let him move along. And I think the future of sports talk radio is actually pretty good in comparison to other forms of terrestrial radio, because they have a very specific demo and they've got it on lockdown. And when I walk into events and my wife's company holds events and things, I go in and people who know what I do with the podcast and the website all want to talk to me about.
Wait a minute, are you saying
sports talk
somebody
radio
recognizes you
from time to time?
And they go, "Are you Colin Daniels?" Is that what they say?
Interesting story. This is true. I hired an attorney 2 weeks ago.
Uh-oh, that's never good.
I did. I hired an attorney 2 weeks ago who I met based on a referral from a guy who recognized me on the light rail on the way to the Nuggets game.
Wow.
He goes, "You're Colin Daniels." And I was like, "Yeah." It was Denver.
Please, no photos.
Denver Wolverine is his @ handle on Twitter. And he's like,
I know him.
He's like, I'm Denver Wolverine. And I'm like, "Oh, sweet, cool, man. Nice to meet you." And I'm like, "What do you do?" Blah, blah, blah. He was there with his 2 daughters, and he's an attorney. And I was like, "It just so happens I have a matter that I need some assistance with in the small business arena." And he said, "That's not my cup of tea, but I have a guy." And he referred me to the guy, and I called the guy, and he helped me out. And so
you get to
it's crazy.
Your ego and get help at the same
Yes.
time.
Wow. Absolutely. It's awesome.
And Tyler, you don't know this story. When we were all in Vegas with Reno Nataro,
that was so funny.
We show up and Colin's like overjoyed because he said he got recognized in Las Vegas
at the poker table.
And Reno was just like disgusted. He was just like, I can't. He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I don't know. This guy thinks he's famous." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's him." And so then we hatched this plan where we were going to have some random guy come up and like pretend to know him, and we never did it. But then somebody did that to you. He kind of pretended like he knew you, but yeah. So he gets recognized. Now he's getting recognized on the light rail. He's getting lawyers. He's getting free legal advice from this.
Oh no, there's nothing free. There's nothing free.
Well, that's just wishful thinking.
$360 an hour.
Yeah. Well, that fame pays, baby. They go, "Oh, this guy's famous. He's Colin Daniels. I'm going to charge him a ton of money. I'm going to charge him as much as I can." See, that's where you went wrong. See, you shouldn't have been like, you should have been like, "Oh, I got to find some other guy because he won't gouge me." Hey, we got to get into the third already. The fourth. Sorry, yeah,
wow.
That was the third.
Yeah, I guess seven. Right?
I have exactly 2 things. This is my legal pad.
Okay.
2 items crossed off. So we're
cooking with
Yeah,
we're gonna try to get everything, but we won't. So,
3 items.
Tyler, I hope we're covering all the bases for you because we definitely
Yeah,
are. So good. I'm glad.
All right, hey, Nuggets up 29-17 against those.
Wow,
that's not.
Yeah, the Lakers sucking is one of the great things about 2019. Really.
So
yeah, forget them.
So let's get into the fourth quarter. Right about now.
God. Grand Theft Auto 5 right here.
What's that?
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, was that in there?
Oh, constantly. Yes. This is burned into my fucking mind from Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, so I've never
Oh,
played.
no. I'm wrong. Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
I've never played like the NBA 2K games before.
Oh, they're fun.
And
my most recent one is a 13.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, so my kid got the newest one because he started playing with his buddies, and I'd never played, but I had meant to play it. I told him a long time ago, I was like, we should get this game, and they never wanted to play it, but he wanted to play it now, and I just kind of thought, okay, I think I know what I'm doing, and
It's hard.
oh, it's totally hard. He just smoked me, and I went and I was like, I'm gonna look up all these controls. There's so much shit that he wasn't even doing that he didn't even know about, like all sorts of things, like
Combos and
set pick and rolls, and like fucking, and you can do give and goes, and you can all this shit. And I was like, did you know this was in there? He's like, nope. And I was like, well, and I played the
Did
Nuggets.
you smoke him once or twice?
What's that?
Have you smoked him
I
yet?
only played him the once, so I'm gonna get a little practice in, and then I'm gonna take him on. So, but I just couldn't, like, I'd be under the basket and I'd hit the shot button, and the guy would like pass it out to the fucking side, and I was like, why is he passing the fucking ball? And I could not get him to fucking like just dunk the ball. Like I got a guy right under the basket, and he couldn't, and he was just like, and I was like, this fucking sucks. So I have to work that out.
Yeah, when we first got Street Fighter, which is, if you want a game to play with one of your kids, there are very few local 2-player games. Very few.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter is one, and that's why I bought it. And my daughter, the first few, like 3-4 times we played, just killed me. So I went and did the same thing. I looked up some YouTube videos, figured out some tricks, and then she won't even play with me anymore.
Oh, really?
So I just fucking crush her. Just fucking crush her. Have you ever played Overcooked with your kids? Overcooked? Oh, it's fun. It's a game. You're chefs in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen it, but no.
Yeah, they're like burger patties coming down the line. You got to pick up the burger patty, put it on the bun, put it on the lettuce, get the orders, and move them out. And if you don't coordinate your efforts together, because it's a team game, so if you don't get on the same page, it doesn't work real well. It's really good for coordinating effort and splitting responsibilities and kind of learning some of that kind of stuff. It's good.
No, most of the time, like my youngest is playing Fortnite, and he started playing Overwatch again, and I just can't.
My kids both play.
I can't do those games because I just can't like keep it. I can't control it, and I'm just like kind of all over the place. Like the Star Wars game. There's the Star Wars game, the same thing. It's like a shooter, and I just couldn't keep the thing down. And then, but I could do the ships, and that was fun. But the rest of it, I was like, I don't know, this is beyond me. I can't do it. But sports games, I can do. So I can kind of figure those out if I know the buttons.
My favorite games are racing games, but only the simple ones. Like I got like some of the new Gran Turismo and some of the other ones where you really got to tune the car.
Yeah, it's so complicated.
And I don't have 4 hours.
Yeah, I just want to race.
Yeah, I just want to sit there and play.
Yeah, I like the older Gran Turismo games. They were fun.
Me too.
The first game on the original PlayStation, that changed my life.
Oh yeah, I love those. Yeah, I had some epic battles, and then the hockey games got beyond me too.
Yeah,
because I just couldn't do the stick. I just couldn't do it, and it just was like it was beyond my capabilities.
That's how MLB The Show. One of its real early years, they rather than just having a swing button, they had it where you had to load and swing with the. Oh, that drove me insane. That was like, I can't play this game. The game is nuts.
Those games got past me too, and I tried to play it, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
That's like I haven't played Madden in like at least 10 years.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to balance a checkbook. I'm going to run an NFL front office now. Like I don't need to do that.
Yeah, like just let me play the fucking.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to like actually play against computer Superman.
But I used to love playing the hockey games, and I mean, just like we just have massive sessions, and then you know, and of course, like I stopped for a long time. And then my kids got old enough, and I was like, "Hey, let's play this hockey game." And then I was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here." I was like, "This doesn't work."
Way over.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting killed. But oh yeah, when it was just the buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
God, so much fun.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Oh yeah.
The days. I've spent the last 4 months of my life so addicted to Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh really?
And like, oh my god, that game is.
See, I know a lot about it. I've never played it, but I know a lot of people love it. But isn't it like a lot of like exposition, for lack of a better word?
Yeah. there's a lot of dead time, which is not what you expect for a video game at all. But it's fascinating. It's more like playing like an epic movie.
Like a movie,
video
you
game.
have to kind of sit there and soak
maybe not
it in.
even a movie. It's more like playing like an HBO series because
Okay.
it takes forever. I think the main storyline is 60 hours of gameplay.
Wow.
Just the main storyline.
And
That's
then all
not
the
even all the
side
ancillary
shit.
stuff on the side. and-
Oh, Scott, fuck! I totally forgot your beer.
I wasn't going to record.
He's drinking his sparkle
Yeah.
water.
Gotta get credit.
I always played all like the Lego games, like the Lego superhero stuff with my
Yeah,
kids.
those are fun.
And I love them. But they got to the point where there was so many like cutscenes
yeah.
that I just got frustrated. I was
Yeah.
like, just get back to the action. And
Right.
you couldn't skip it because
Yeah.
it's loading something else. And I hated that. I was just like, it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
So I want to get Mark Roycroft's Sobo Liquors on as a sponsor.
You should.
And all they got to do is give us the beer for the show.
That's a great idea.
That's simple. Just give me the beer for the show. Twice a week, twice a month. It'll cost them $15 a week.
And we could say, hey, Sobo Liquors, we're drinking some fucking Budweisers.
Yeah. Easy peasy.
Give
There's
the
no reason that
address.
shouldn't happen.
So what's up? What have you
I just thought of it today. I just thought of it today.
get a hold of him? You got his number, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's do a read on the way in.
Yeah. I'm really bad. I don't have my music set up today.
God damn it, Scott.
I know. The one thing I need to do, and I've been messing it up.
You had one job.
Not doing it well. All right, guys. You guys ready to rock this?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm not feeling totally good. I'm really debating whether or not to play this song. I probably should because I keep wanting to play it. And I never do.
I think you should.
I think
play
you
the
guys
song.
are just going to hate me for playing it.
I won't hit you for playing it. Okay.
It's a song that I don't even like. It just got into my head, and I don't even know how I found it.
All right.
And it's kind of old.
All right.
You've never heard
you
of this
play a
band
lot of
before?
old songs.
Is
I
it
mean,
a
you're an old guy.
Carly B song?
Is it Carly Simon?
It's a band by. It's called Sunseed.
Sonseed. Oh, Jesus is a friend
Oh,
of
you
mine.
know it. Oh, then.
No, you gotta play it. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta play it.
You
My
really-
brother
you
has
know
it.
this song?
Dude, my brother has it on 45.
You really?
Yes.
You really know this song?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow. Okay, I've been
Yeah.
debating playing this
Oh,
song
it's
for like,
brilliant.
for
No,
like
play
6 months.
It's brilliant. It's
okay,
great.
all right.
All right.
This makes it a little bit easier then.
All right. So I'll do. Reed.
I cannot believe you know Sunseed.
I know songs.
Is it Son? Is it
It's
Son?
SONSEE.
Is it
Oh,
Sun?
son. As in son, like the
Sonseed.
son of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
good
Get it?
time.
That's-
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Come
it's
on,
really
you
good.
heathen. Come on. You,
All right.
you heathen atheist. What you think?
Okay, ready to do this now?
I'm ready. I'm
Are you
ready
ready?
for. I'm ready for.
Are
a
you
read.
ready? And
Have you guys been to Mutiny Information Cafe? It's one of my favorite places to hang out. I mean, a lot of really cool people hang out there. It's a coffee shop. It's a used bookstore. It's a used record store. T-shirts, hats, pins, patches, podcasts, comedy performances. It's right next to a really cool vegan shop where they've got all the latest yummies. It's a really cool place to be. It's one of the most Denver places you can possibly go. It's definitely worth the trip. Mutiny Information Cafe. Hell, park in my lot and walk a couple blocks up there to Broadway and Ellsworth and say hi to our friend Matt there at Mutiny Information Cafe. And when you do, please tell them the South Stand sent you.
I thought John would like the kind of ska beat to it.
Pick him up, pick him up, pick him up, pick him up. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend.
Try to get this out of your head. It's impossible. Like all night
I've
long.
never heard this before.
Well, Colin knows it.
This is what they had him sing when they were kids.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend.
Now I realize why we wasted so much time. This is what's going on.
He taught me how to praise my God and still play rock and roll.
Have you ever watched Crashing?
Yeah.
It's
on HBO?
I think I watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes.
It's really good. It's Pete Holmes is the comedian. It's about his doing his career, but he's right now he's like, because he's raised like very Christian, and so he goes on like a Christian comedy tour, and because it's like it's good money, and he's actually doing what he wants to do, and then he gets kicked off. But it's just kind of funny.
You know what I am watching? I'm rewatching Game of Thrones.
Oh, I wanted to do that too.
So I
hear that's starting soon. So
April 14th.
Yeah.
We just got past the Red Wedding.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You got
So
we got a ways to go.
Yeah, we got like 58 to go or something like that.
I was thinking about doing that, and I was like, I barely watch
It's such
TV
a big hill to climb. I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Same.
It bums me out.
Good.
No, it totally bumps me out. But it's nice to have a series left that I haven't seen. Like when I meet somebody who says they haven't seen The Wire, I'm like, I'm so jealous. I wish I had the opportunity to watch The Wire again with fresh eyes. I recently watched Breaking Bad beginning to end for the second time, and it was amazing to me how many things I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Whereas I recently started watching The Sopranos again from the end, and I could literally finish Tony's sentences. And I was like, maybe I don't need to do this because I know this series like the back of my hand. Whereas Breaking Bad, it was a whole new experience.
Well, the thing with Game of Thrones is there's so much that you miss, and there's so many darn characters. Now, John, you read the book, so you have a little bit more of an insight to it. But I finally can now figure out that's that guy's uncle, and that's the cousin.
Yeah, there's
married to this one. And, I mean, it really it's just as horrible watching the Red Wedding again, though. It's the first time.
Like my son, my 14-year-old son, he's watched The Office 3 times.
Yeah, my son too.
And
my son too.
That's one of my background shows.
I love it. It's great because he's watching, and I'll go sit down and hang out, watch a few minutes, and then go do something else. It's great. It's always good. But I'm like, man, he's watched it 3 times through. I'm like, holy crap.
To me, I can't once. I mean, really, after Jim and Pam get together, that show starts to take a turn.
Yeah.
But then once it gets sold to Saber and Gabe comes on and all that, that show was just a mediocre comedy for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, they were kind of fun.
The first 4 or 5 seasons of that show were as good as any show ever.
It's brilliant.
My daughter is watching the seasons without Michael Scott.
Yeah,
at this point. Why bother?
Yeah.
Well, and I keep saying you should watch the English one. Have you watched the English one?
No, I actually never have.
So
I've had it in my Netflix queue for 6 years.
And if you like English stuff, you'll get it. If you don't like English stuff, you won't. But a lot of it, the early stuff is very similar. A lot of the same stuff happens. And I think it was only 2 seasons or so, 2-3 seasons. And then they did a special. Like England always does things where they'll do a Christmas special or something.
Right.
It's excellent. It's so good. And, very different though. And I keep trying to get him to watch and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. So
is it good though?
Oh, it's good.
It's good. All right. I recently rewatched Monty Python. And the
Holy no, hold on. I did too.
And with my daughter, I'm saying, no, I'm like, no, this is one of the greatest movies ever. And it wasn't.
Not.
No,
it's not.
Listen, I started watching the show, like the actual show that they did, and I was like, oh, I watched all these.
Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch.
It was on PBS.
And I was watching on Netflix, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so slow. This is so boring. And I was like, and it just was not good.
Right. But it was the very last scene of the whole, when they're all in the film set, and everything goes crazy. That was that was it. It redeemed the whole darn movie for me.
But we're so like everything we watch now has to have. If it doesn't kick in, you're just out. And
I watched Blazing Saddles recently too, and I love that movie. And I'm rewatching it, going, maybe I don't.
It's not good. And I just think our attention spans, because of the way we watch stuff now and we're looking at our phones all day, I think that it's completely changed our brains, and we just can't.
I agree completely. Alan Sepinwall says, he's a TV reviewer.
I love Sepinwall.
He says we're living in the age of peak TV, and it's got to be good. It's got to be really good.
Because if you watch something I watch something all the time, and we'll just start it, and I'm like, this sucks. It's gone, and you don't get into the 7th episode.
I did that with that. God, the series about the guy who's laundering money, Ozark. I got a couple seasons in, and it just kind of trailed off.
Oh, I watched both seasons of that.
There are more than 2 now.
No, there's 2.
Oh, okay.
Just like,
yeah, it's
it
good.
trailed off a bit.
and that's the thing. If it doesn't grab you right away,
Living Dead. The Living Dead. After season, The Walking Dead. After season 2, just kind of trails off.
I'm watching that all the way through.
Really?
Oh yeah. So, and I think that's the whole thing is there's so much out there that if it doesn't grab you, you move on to something else. I might go, I like this because I'm gonna watch it, but there's so much now. But when we were kids, dude, if that was the only thing on, you'd just be glued to it. You'd just be like, I gotta watch this because it's the only thing on, and I won't be able to watch anything for another 7 days or whatever, So
yeah, there's just too much great shit right now.
That is true.
One example is True Detective. I watched reruns of Breaking Bad instead, and now I've got 3-4 episodes of the current season left.
Oh, this current season's good.
Yeah, it seems good, but there's better. There's just so much good shit.
There's a lot of good stuff. I don't mind it. And that's the whole thing is having a DVR really helps, so you can kind of watch it at your own pace. There's lots of good stuff.
Vic Lombardi came out of surgery this week. Are you following him on Instagram?
So no, I'm not.
Oh my God.
And so, what was interesting, I was thinking about Luke Perry and
Luke Perry.
So what happens is that somebody like Luke Perry dies, and then everybody kind of goes, oh my God! Like for us, not you, Tyler, but he's close to our age.
Yeah.
Well, he's 52, so it's close to my age, and I'm like, holy fuck, I remember when MCA from the Beastie Boys died.
Yeah.
And I went, oh fuck, and I was like, holy shit, and I was like, kind of like, I remember I went to the doctor for something else, and I was kind of like, yeah, hey, what's up, that guy, and I kind of asked him about it, and that was like a weird like cancer of the salivary gland or something.
Yeah, that's right. It was some really strange.
It was a strange one. But then you kind of your own mortality kind of creeps in. You go, oh, I grew up with this person. He's only a few years older than I am. It does have that effect on you. And Vic Lombardi, going through his prostate, surgery, it all of a sudden everyone kind of goes, and it's funny because you sent that thing out about getting checked out, and I was hearing about other people that I know through my wife, and they were like kind of like, oh, so-and-so, they made them go to the doctor, and I was like, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that people do that. But it's funny because all of a sudden, something hits home, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go check this out.
I saw this picture on Instagram of Vic's midsection post-op. It is black. His entire gut and around his lower back, just bruises everywhere. Huh. It's completely black. And he said on his Instagram post was very positive and just said, this is all part of the healing process. And I was like, oh my God, that looks awful.
That's fairly invasive, I think. I think they got to.
It's a definition of invasive.
They got to dig up into your business.
Into your tank.
Yeah. So, but hopefully he's all good and he'll heal up and lose that shit. But it's just interesting because then when that happens, everyone kind of goes like, oh man. But then I'm thinking like, well, what was Luke Perry into? Like, he drops dead. The guy from
he had a stroke.
I know, but like, was he a smoker? Did he do something to, or was it just luck of the fucking draw?
He was taking stroke pills every morning.
I love these stroke pills. I hope they don't give me a stroke.
I just can't stop.
But the guy from The Prodigy, remember the guy from The Prodigy? He killed himself. And I'm like, did he have drug and alcohol problems, And I think it's that age where all of a sudden it's kind of like you reach the end of the line, and if you've done all that, just something I was like, I'm Irish. I think about death all the fucking time. Same. So, so it's like,
my drug and alcohol problems are the only reason I don't kill myself.
that's an interesting take. Yes. So, let's get off that real quick.
Did you hear the Bears today signed a kicker? I'm not shitting you. Named Chris Blewett.
Yeah, that's fun. That is terrible for that guy. I would think that maybe you would want to alter your name a little bit. Somebody
had responded to the tweet from the Bears official account and said, was Frank Wideleft not available?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's tough, man. But that kid's he knew as soon as he got into the kicking game that he's
doomed.
He's a punter though. He's not a
place kicker.
Oh, he's a place kicker. Oh, he is. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's real rough.
That's unfortunate.
Let's start. Let's start our final approach here. I did want to talk. A little more Rockies. And Tyler, what do you think? Knowing what you know about the team, kind of the direction they're going. Do you see, we were pleasantly surprised how last year ended. They certainly made strides. You think
Except for they blew it against the Brewers.
They wide lefted it to the Brewers. Do you see it being more positive? Do you see more strides being taken?
Yeah, I mean, I think this season, I don't really see going into this year how they are anything other than a co-favorite in the National League West. And I think it's, you look at the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have 6 straight division titles. And so I think somewhat by default, you have to give the Dodgers the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be there at the end. But when I look at the Dodgers for this year, they trade away Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp, ostensibly to clear room for Clayton Kershaw.
Thank God they got rid of Puig.
Right, exactly. Now I can love him in a different division. I'm fine with that. But ostensibly, that's to create room for Bryce Harper, who then they don't sign. You get a healthy Corey Seager back. That's big. But Clayton Kershaw now has been either hurt or very inconsistent, or there's something going on with his shoulder, or it's his back, or whatever it is. He's barely been throwing in camp. They've got other guys. They've got Walker Buehler. They've got Julio Urias, a kid who's still got a really high ceiling and is only, I think, 21 years old. But I don't look at the Dodgers. On the podcast a couple weeks ago, we separated the division into 3 camps. There are teams that got better, teams that basically just stood pat, and teams that got worse. And I don't think anybody outside of the Padres has gotten that much better. I think you could put the Rockies in that conversation with the Nolan extension just because of what it does as an ancillary development for that team. They're not having to answer questions about it all year. It doesn't become a distraction.
Don't you think they got worse, though? I mean, without Avino gone?
Without Avino gone, I think that's the one departure that hurts. But I don't think losing DJ LeMahieu is that big of a blow. I don't think losing Gerardo Parra or Carlos Gonzalez, and I still think they're going to end up re-signing Carlos Gonzalez, but I don't think that's a huge blow. So maybe they took a minuscule step back, but I also think that where they've improved is probably enough to compensate for that. But every other team in the division, I think, got worse. The Giants are terrible.
Good.
I thought the Giants were going to sign Bryce Harper. I tweeted out that I had a feeling he was going to go there, and apparently they offered him $320 million. But with the way California taxes work versus with the way Pennsylvania taxes work, he was going to make more money if he went to Philly. They didn't sign anybody. The Giants have nobody. They have nothing in that system. The D-backs trade away Paul Goldschmidt. That team has gotten worse. They don't really have a whole lot that's coming up. And the Dodgers, I don't feel like are as good of a team coming into 2019 as they were going into 2018. So I don't really see how that's a division in which the Rockies tie at the end of game 162 for the division title. I don't see how you look at them coming into 2019, and all the projections I've seen are, they're an 85 to 87 win team, and the Dodgers are going to win 95 games. And the Dodgers probably will, because that's what the Dodgers do. But how you can look at this Dodgers team compared to what came out of 2018 and say this is a team that's going to win 95 games, that I don't really get. And maybe I'm selling them way short, and there are guys who are just going to blow up, and somehow Max Muncy is going to continue being an all-world everything player. But I just don't see it. I mean, if I was betting on the National League West this year, I would put my money on the Rockies.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Who is a name that will emerge in the coming season that is not on the tips of our lips right now for Colorado?
As far as a major league contributor,
he's looking for his fantasy draft, so don't give him too much.
Okay.
Okay, please do.
I guess the semi-obvious one in that conversation is Brendan Rodgers, who was their first-round draft selection a few seasons ago, and he's right on the doorstep right now. There's no way he makes a club out of spring training because of the Major League Service time considerations and all that. And I think the Rockies are pretty well served by their middle infield depth. But Brendan Rodgers, I think if he starts off hot in Albuquerque, I would say by May he's probably up at the major league level, and by June he's ready to make an impact.
What is he? He's not.
He's a shortstop by trade, but they've moved him basically everywhere. He's played third, he's played second. I know there was some talk at one time that he was going to get a look in the outfield, which I don't think he ever did. But that's one thing the Rockies have done really, really well over the last few seasons is they've taken prospects and basically applied every type of positional change that they can to give guys as many tools as they can to try to make it to the major leagues. So Brendan Rodgers is probably that guy. Brendan Rodgers, he's probably that guy. As far as the pitching staff goes, Peter Lambert, I would say, is the guy who's the odds-on favorite as far as the young guys go to take that next step. He's been outstanding everywhere he's gone throughout his minor league career. And scuffled a little bit at AAA his first time there last year, but he'll go back there this year. I think he's only 21 years old, which is kind of crazy. So he's probably the guy pitching-wise who will be.
I'm hearing some buzz on Hampson.
Garrett Hampson. We have always been big Garrett Hampson guys on the old PDP. He's just like, when you look at Garrett Hampson's line at every single level of the minor leagues, he puts up like the exact same line. It's like a 315 average, a 400 on base percentage, a 480 slugging percentage. Like everything he does throughout every step of his baseball career as a professional seems like it's the exact same.
So if he plays to his competition, just bring him right up.
Right, exactly. Just jump him up.
He's going to probably play everywhere, right?
He can do everything. He can do everything. Nice. And the thing I like about him is he has the ability to be an everyday second baseman, but also to slide over if you need to give Trevor Story a day off. If you need to, even in a pinch, give Nolan Arenado a day off. I love Garrett Hampson. I'm a big Ryan McMahon fan also. I hope Ryan McMahon gets a shot somewhere at some point. I don't even know if that's going to be in Colorado anymore, but Ryan McMahon's such a good dude and has worked his tail off to be able to play. He was drafted as a third baseman. They converted him to first base a couple seasons ago. Now he's playing at second base. Like, he's done everything the organization's asked, and I hope he gets a shot at some point. But that's a good problem for the Rockies to have. They have so much depth in those infield spots right now. Some of those guys aren't going to.
Isn't he the one getting the first shot at it, though?
I would think. I mean, right now, I think it's probably a two-horse race between Hampson and McMahon. Hampson is under team control for a little longer, which maybe pushes his window back somewhat. And McMahon, if McMahon is not a regular major league contributor in 2019 for the Rockies, I don't know where he is.
Would either Hampson or McMahon be a good fit with Vic Fangio?
I feel like Hampson probably would. He's scrappy. He's got that element to him.
So Murphy's going to play first then only? Is he just going to stay at first?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Which I've read some stuff that defensively – a lot of numbers, a lot of analytics suggest that he'll be good there, and that's probably his better position right now with his age.
He's old and he can't move.
Exactly, he can't move, but he also moves better than the average first baseman, so I think that's probably a good thing. As a baseball-specific addition, Daniel Murphy makes them a better team.
Oh, absolutely.
There are, other things about Daniel Murphy that we obviously were.
The part where he's a racist?
No, he's not a racist.
He's a homophobe.
He's a homophobe. Yeah.
Oh, we'll discuss that with Sid Ziegler next week.
We'll discuss that with Sid
Ziegler.
Sid Caesar.
Sid
Caesar, the old
Ziegler.
The motivation guy, the guy who does the at the arenas.
I know. He's the founder of Outsports Magazine.
That's awesome. I believe there's some folks we know that were for every Daniel Murphy double, they were going to donate some money to some trans youth organizations.
I think the Matthew Shepard Foundation.
Stuff like that. So that's really
great.
Cool.
Here's a question for you before we get out of here. Of all the four major professional sports, Tyler Maun,
yes,
which do you think has the greatest population of closeted gay male athletes?
Wow. The four major sports?
Yes.
Wow.
Of the four major sports. I have a theory. I want to know yours.
That is a really good question. I would say numbers-wise, man, I have no idea.
I would say baseball. I would say baseball. Largely
Could be.
because of the amount of road trips, the amount of opportunity that the players have. And, we all know that the heterosexual players hook up with a lot of broads at a 162-game season. It's got to be no different. And if the population of American males who are homosexual is roughly 17%, I believe, I would say the same probably applies to Major League Baseball, which would put the volume
across the board in all sports.
Yeah.
Are you trying to open up a branch in here to like a bathhouse to cater to these gentlemen?
Well, it once was.
This was.
Oh, that's right. This was a bathhouse.
Yes, it was.
Well, I thought a few years ago there was a prospect in the Milwaukee Brewers organization named David Denson, and David Denson came out as gay when he had just played in rookie ball, maybe in low A. And was like a third-year player. He was a relatively high draft pick. I think he was a second or third round pick. And I really kind of felt like after that happened, there was also an independent league player the season before who had come out. I really felt like that was going to be the start of it being a more accepted thing that players could come out
and still compete
and be teammates and could play, and it wasn't going to be a thing because it's not a thing in any other area of society.
I think if there's one sport where it will happen, it'll be the MLB.
Well, and
it's not going to be the NBA.
Really?
It's not going to be the NFL.
Really?
No, not a chance.
But now,
don't
you think
because the NBA is 75% black, and I'm just going to be straight with you. I'm just going to be straight with you. I'm not going to make any excuses for this take. The NBA is 75% black, and it would be that much less likely to work in the NBA as a result. Because in the African American community, it's not something you talk about.
Don't you think, though, in these locker rooms, they're like, we all know my man is gay, and we don't give a shit.
We know.
And we're not going to talk about it.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about it, but we support him. We're all good. Now, you obviously haven't had anybody come out that is a superstar or be like someone that's a major cog in a team, but I think everybody knows. I would say that baseball, kind of based on the demographics, I think that would be a little more like you would keep that hidden, I would think.
So which sport would you think it would be? Where somebody could comfortably compete?
NFL.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because
you don't think the macho in the NFL is just too much?
Oh, it's too much. Don't get me wrong. It's way too much.
I mean, look at what happened to Michael Sam.
Yeah. True. But if he just wasn't very good. I think if he was good, that's the whole thing is that in that type of environment, if you perform, they don't care. And I think that we've seen that. We've seen it with like bad people, like people who've done horrible things, and they perform and they're like, look the other way.
The entire Baltimore Ravens roster.
Everything, the Dallas
Cowboys for the last decade.
Up to this point. So it's hard to say, but it's an interesting topic. It's just it's hard to know because we don't know what's already going on behind the scenes. I'm guessing that there's a lot of people that it's pretty obvious. And they're like, hey, this is my man. If as long as I don't have to deal with it, then we're all cool.
Well, maybe in 2 weeks, let's get Sid on. He's the founder of Out Sports Magazine, and talk about that and other interesting topics in the sports world when it comes to gender and sexuality.
Sounds great. Well,
amazing.
I know. Well, let's get out of here. We're going to release Tyler into the wild because we've kept him too long.
We should release.
I'm feral.
Yeah, he's feral. We've talked way too much about all sorts of things, but Tyler, let everybody know where they can find you. We all know about the Purple Dino cast, but please let everybody know where they can find you.
Dino Costa coverage. The old PDP you can find wherever you get podcasts. The Purple Dinosaur podcast is there, and we are also on PurpleRow.com. They're kind of our hosts. I'm all over the tweets at Tyler Maun. MAUN is my last name, and you can get all of your weird coverage from me. Posting pictures from Summit League basketball games to NCHC hockey to spring training to I'll be doing baseball tournaments in Japan by the end of the year. So
sweet.
You get to go to Japan?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm going to in November.
I heard he's big in Japan.
He's big in Japan. All right. No, that's fantastic. It seems to be taking you everywhere. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I have the weirdest tweet presence of anybody that I know. So I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you. We're glad to have you back in with us.
It's good to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why it took so long. I don't know if it's something Colin said, maybe. Well, I don't know.
It could have been things that we tweet, which is very possible.
No,
we tweet dumb stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. We understand. But no, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. It's always good to have you. Yeah, it was excellent. We got some good info tonight. I like the show. So good stuff, guys. Thanks for everybody being here. Thanks for everyone tuning in. All the ships at sea and all that jazz. It's been the South Stands Denver Fancast. Adios.
We love you, Denver!
Big in Japan.
See what happens when you have nothing lined up?
Huh?
See what happens when you have nothing lined up?
Well,
I just take cues from language.
That's Tom Waits big in Japan. Yeah. I think it was Alphaville big in Japan.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking? Yeah.
I'm big in Japan.
I love it. We love Tom Waits.
Nuggets up 61-45.
When I saw Tom Waits at the Paramount,
I can't believe I didn't go to that show. I'm so
oh my God.
Tickets for $80. I didn't go because I was like, oh, who can afford $80 tickets?
That was a lot of money back then.
Right?
This
It was like $80
what? This
right?
like late 90s? Yeah.
I didn't go. That was why I didn't go.
Because we're sitting there and the show kind of starts, and then he ran from the back throwing like confetti. He ran through the aisles.
We had people staying at our house from all over the state coming to see that. We're like, no, we're not going to go. It's $80.
Dude, it was
Can't
fucking
believe it.
fantastic.
I didn't go to Bowie because it was like $80 at the Fillmore. Like, God, just
telling you, I wanted to go see the Rolling Stones, but it was like fucking, it was going to be like $300.
I'm gonna be
And I
out
was
of
just
town.
like,
So Renault's out drinking. He's been texting me the entire time. He said Ryan Harris has a boob job, and he said it's time to address the lack of diversity in the
wait a minute. Remember? Hold on, let me kill this real quick. Sorry, folks.
yeah. Yes.
How do we cut that out? Yeah, we're going to stop that right here.
See, that's the problem with this story.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
I hate this